I provided you with the news release that Judy Tassone sent out. I believe you had a chance to read it, did you?
Yes, we did.
Okay. What is your reaction to what she's saying here?
Wonderful. Be happy to look forward to having a conversation with Judy. And actually, our plans when we went forward to the ledge on the 7th was to talk about this issue and present information on the Arena and Event Center.
Jim, keep in mind the arena has been in operation for less than 6 months, and so we are very eager to have a dialogue with elected officials and all interested parties. But it's important to keep in mind that this facility did open in December, and so we really are just a startup at this point.
One of the impressions that people may be getting from this flap that's going on right now is that that there is money coming into the SRC arena, and she also mentioned the other 3 not-for-profits. And what has happened to it? Is it being hidden, or how do you react to that? Do you have full disclosure? Are you transparent?
Sure, absolutely. Every one of the affiliates. Matter of fact, I think all of our meetings are open to the public. Welcome people to come. We have third-party auditors that do all our financial statements. So all the money is accounted for, and
why were the contracts? Why were there certain things deleted from the contracts, and why do you consider them not public?
Well, it's not a question that we consider them not public. We've been asked by third-party vendors who we entered into these contracts to honor the confidentiality clause that are contained within the center of them. And you know, these are matters handled by attorneys, and we'll follow their advice, but in no way or shape or form were we trying to avoid submitting the contracts for those that were requested. So I think Glenn actually asked for the YMCA contract a while ago. We provided that, redacted the financial arrangements at the request of the YMCA relative to confidentiality, and we're respecting the rights of people that we've entered into negotiations for. It's not like we're buying a product off the shelf at a retail store and someone asks, what did you pay for it?
You're not using these not-for-profits as some kind of shield to prevent people from seeing what's going on?
Absolutely not. They're open. All our corporations are open to review and have third-party auditors to come in and financially audit the operation. And in every case, we've had clean opinions of what we're doing. So, no, not in any way whatsoever.
Jim,
surprised you would ask.
I think it's important to keep in mind that public-private partnerships are really essential to higher education, but to other entities that have previously enjoyed public funding in larger proportions than we're seeing today. And I think that Onondaga has been very innovative, has been progressive, has really attempted in good faith to try to find some solutions to declining public funding. We've been doing this in a very strategic, planned way. This is something that we have had in our planning goals for many years, and we have just celebrated the success of being able to open the arena and to have the kinds of programs and services for our students and the community, like the YMCA, like some dining services and other amenities that our students simply could not enjoy without these public-private partnerships. So, you know, I just want to be clear. I do think it's a teachable opportunity. I think there is this great interest, because this is very likely the wave of the future, not just for Onondaga, but for other publicly supported entities that are struggling to find ways not to continue to rely exclusively or even primarily on public revenues to perform their mission. And I believe the dialogue is very valuable. I think our elected officials are absolutely within their right, and they are being responsible by asking questions. We are happy to provide answers to those questions because we have nothing to hide, and we think it's the right time for dialogue, especially as we go to ask for more investment from the local sponsor.
Well, that's what Judy Tassone is concerned about. That's what Ryan McMahon is concerned about.
Sure.
They want assurance that the money that is going into these not-for-profits is
Sure.
being used to lower the operating costs so that the taxpayers don't have to
Exactly.
subsidize those.
Exactly. And you know, we are so proud of the fact that, and you can get this from the State University of New York, we are one of the most cost-effective of all 64 SUNY colleges and universities. We use taxpayer dollars exceedingly well in supporting our mission. Our net cost per FTE is among the lowest in the State University of New York system. And so the track record we have for being good stewards of public resources is something we take tremendous pride in. And so as the public, elected officials and local citizens and community leaders, as they look to us, again, really stepping out front with public-private partnerships that will allow this institution to be sustainable into the future, to continue to fulfill our mission in great ways that support the local economy and local citizens and the community at large. This is a good time. What better time than to be talking about how these public-private partnerships work? Have we answered every single question around legalities? No, I don't think we have. I think we're all still trying to figure where those lines and interpretations and mandates, where does that all settle out? But I do think it should be taken in the larger context of progress in exploring new ways of maintaining this institution for the community.
One other issue that the legislature is raising has to do with the on-center and whether the SRC arena is taking business away from the on-center. And they felt that there's a verbal, if not implicit agreement that the SRC arena would not compete. Is that true, and are you honoring that commitment?
Well, first of all, I mean, the comparison of the two facilities is something really not understood in the community. We have a arena called the SRC Arena because folks at SRC were kind enough to donate $1.5 million in support of scholarships for our college. Mm-hmm. Besides that name on that facility, this is really a college classroom. This is not a building like the On-Center where people are out spending 24 hours a day trying to determine how we're going to book events. We've had 68 event days, Jim, since we've opened in December of 2011. And since that time period, and during those 68 events, about 60% of those have been related to college activities and or high school sports activities associated with Section 3 and others. During that time period, we have only had what we would call 7 days of entertainment events, things like the Tao concert, which was the Japanese art of drum, a cultural event, things like Barney's birthday bash for the community, and I think 8 days of 2 trade shows. So we are a college facility. If you walked over there today and you looked at the number of people that were using the track from the YMCA from our students, the activity going on in the classrooms, okay, and the space over there relative to serving the needs of this campus. That facility is maintained by the college, it's cleaned by the college, and it's utilized primarily for college and cultural events. All we're trying to do is at a time when the facility would be idle, instead of letting that facility sit idle and still pay the cost associated with keeping it warm, okay, or keeping it cool depending upon the year, what we're trying to do is leverage that asset in a way that during idle times we utilize it for events that are consistent with our mission, either our mission relative to educating students or our mission as a community college relative to serving the needs of our community. And leverage the asset in a way to have events that will allow us potentially to make some surplus monies that go to pay expenses that otherwise would have to be paid anyway. So the real value that we're bringing is that at times when we can leverage this asset, let's do so in an aggressive way to be able to pay expenses that the college would have to pay anyway.
Jim, I think you can look at other public facilities that do sit idle much of the time. Mm-hmm. So they have a part of the day that it's used for whatever the mission is, but as David says, the rest of the time the utilities are on and costs are being generated, and yet there is not benefit being added to the mission and or to the community. It's simply something that we have tried to be very proactive about addressing, making sure that we are maximizing the benefit of all of our assets, and the arena happens to be one of them.
And that's really a main point of distinction between, we're just not this, because we're called Arena and Event Center, it's like we're this separate entity up here trying to market business and steal business. Yeah. And Jim, I know you know, because you've been around since the beginning of the On Center relative to that development, that On Center was built and is subsidized by room occupancy tax. Right. And room occupancy tax is there for one reason. Its mission is to go seek events that bring people in from outside the community to stay overnight in hotels and spend money within our community. That is the definition of the On Center. And fortunately, I've had the opportunity to be at the county as their chief fiscal officer when we opened the On Center with that intention. And for anyone to suggest we're stealing events when we're doing regional type things like a home show or a golf show to somebody that approaches us to say, we'd like to come to your suburban campus with this parking and this beautiful facility to do that. Free parking. Is, you know, we're out, we turn down events because it doesn't fit into our schedule, because it's not part of our mission. No one in this community was going to go do the Japanese art of drum. And yes, people have done Barney before, but that was a need we felt from our community members that would be something that would be nice for this thing. So it's not this big business being set up to go aggressively have Elton John come here, and, you know, it's thoughtful community planning.
I'm gonna throw this out. I asked this of Judy Tassone. What's wrong with bringing Elton John here? If people want to go to a facility with free parking up here in the OCC campus rather than the On Center, then what's wrong with that?
I think there's not competition. I want to just reiterate by saying
we're working together.
There are different missions, and all along we have been very interested in trying to supplement and trying to expand and build on the venues that this community has to offer. Mm-hmm. And they're not, as David said, the arena, the On Center, the War Memorial, very different facilities, and the organizations that operate them have a very different mission and a very different funding structure. So we think there's just a bit of confusion about that. And again, that's why this dialogue is so important, so that we can get some clarification throughout the community about the differences, about how each of us really has a role to play in supporting the community, bringing more people out. And in our case, it's really all about education. Barney makes sense when you have a children's learning center on campus, and we have this population of young children who are part of what we do here at this institution, trying to make sure that their parents get an education. So with each and every one of these events, there has to be some connection with our mission, which is all about higher education.